The stars looked the same as they always did. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the TCNS Indomitable, watching the view screen display thousands of distant suns. His ship had been traveling for 3 months through empty space, mapping systems that no human had ever seen before. The mission was supposed to be routine. Find new worlds, mark them on the charts, return home. Minho was 52 years old with gray hair at his temples and tired eyes that had seen too many battles. He wore the dark blue uniform of the Terran Coalition Navy with quiet pride. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations in calm efficiency. They were good people, the best. Commander Jiwan looked up from her tactical display. She was younger than Minho, sharp and quick with black hair tied back in a tight bun. Captain, sensors are picking up something unusual. There's a ship ahead. It's not one of ours. Minho felt his stomach tighten. In all of humanity's exploration, they had never found another intelligent species. They had found ruins. They had found dead worlds, but never another living civilization. Can you identify it? Negative, sir. The design is completely unknown. It's much smaller than us, maybe 300 meters long. They're hailing us. Jiwan's fingers flew across her console. Translation protocols are working. They're speaking to us. Put them through, Minho said. The view screen flickered. A face appeared that was not human. The being had smooth blue skin, 4 eyes arranged vertically and no nose that Minho could see. Its mouth moved, and words came through the speakers in perfect English. Unknown vessel, this is Commander Velk of the Galactic Council ship Harmony's Dawn. You have entered civilized space. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. Minho straightened his uniform. First contact. The moment every explorer dreamed of. This is Captain Minho of the Terran Coalition Navy ship Indomitable. We come in peace. We are explorers from Earth searching for new worlds and new friends. There was a long pause. Commander Velk's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Earth? We have no records of any civilization called Earth. Where is your homeworld located? Sector 447 near the Orion Spur, Minho replied. Another pause, longer this time. When Velk spoke again, his voice sounded strange, uncertain. That sector is marked as uninhabited on our charts. The stellar radiation makes it impossible for civilized life to develop there. You must be mistaken, Jiwan whispered to Minho. He doesn't believe us, sir. Minho nodded. Commander Velk, I assure you we are quite real. Perhaps we could meet face to face. Exchange information about our peoples. Velk seemed to struggle with the words. I must report this to my superiors. Please stand by. And Captain Minho, I must ask, why is your ship so heavily armed? We detect hundreds of weapon systems aboard your vessel. Such things are forbidden under council law. Minho glanced at Jiwan, who shrugged. Forbidden? Commander, we carry weapons for self-defense. Space can be dangerous. Dangerous! Velk's voice rose slightly. The galaxy has been at peace for 3,000 years. There is no danger. There are no enemies. War is illegal. You must disarm immediately or face consequences. The channel closed. The view screen returned to showing stars. Lieutenant Hyun, the diplomatic officer, stood up from his station. He was young, barely 30, with an eager face and bright eyes. Captain, I don't think they understand us at all. A galaxy without war? Without weapons? Is that even possible? Apparently it is, Minho said slowly. Or at least it was until we showed up. Over the next 6 hours, more ships arrived. Small vessels, each one carrying representatives from the Galactic Council. They kept their distance, clearly afraid of the Indomitable. Through the windows, Minho could see them circling his ship like nervous fish around a shark. Finally, they agreed to send a delegation aboard. Minho met them in the main hangar bay with Lieutenant Hyun at his side. The doors opened and 3 aliens walked in, each from a different species. One looked like a floating jellyfish wrapped in robes. Another had 6 legs and fur like a cat. The third was Commander Velk, the blue-skinned one from before. They stopped when they saw Minho. Their eyes went wide. They had clearly never seen a human before. Welcome aboard the Indomitable, Minho said, bowing slightly. I am Captain Minho. This is Lieutenant Hyun, our diplomatic officer. We are honored to meet you. The jellyfish being spoke in a high musical voice. We are honored as well, though troubled. I am Counselor Tertis. We must ask directly, Captain Minho. What are your intentions? Why have you come to our space with such a vessel of war? This is not a vessel of war, Minho said carefully. This is an exploration ship. We carry weapons because that is what we do. We do not know what dangers we might face in unknown space. But there are no dangers, the cat-like alien said. The Council maintains peace across 47 species. We have laws. We have agreements. Violence is not tolerated. Lieutenant Hune stepped forward. Forgive me, but I must explain something. Humanity comes from a very different background than yours. We have always known conflict. Our world was harsh. Our history is full of wars, struggles, and survival against terrible odds. We developed weapons not because we are evil, but because we had to. You admit to being warlike? Commander Velk said. His voice was sharp with fear. You admit to violence? We admit to being survivors, Minho said. Yes, we know war, but we also know peace. We chose to stop fighting each other. We chose to unite as one people. We chose to reach out to the stars hoping to find friends, not enemies. And now we have found you. Counselor Tertis floated closer, examining Minho with multiple eyes on stalks. You must understand our position, Captain. We have built a civilization based on cooperation and peace. Your very existence challenges everything we believe. One ship like yours could destroy everything we have created. We would never, Minho started to say. But you could, Velk interrupted. That is what frightens us. You have the capacity for such destruction. We do not. We have forgotten how to fight. We have forgotten how to kill. And now you arrive reminding us that such things exist. The hangar fell silent. Minho looked at these peaceful aliens and understood something sad. They were afraid of him, not because of anything he had done, but because of what he represented. Power, violence, the capacity to harm. What do you want us to do? Minho asked quietly. The Council will meet to discuss this, Tertis said. But there will be demands. You must disarm your ship. You must submit to our laws. You must prove that humanity can be trusted to exist in civilized space. Minho felt anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. We came in peace, Counselor. We have shown you only respect and courtesy. We have threatened no one, and yet you treat us like criminals simply because we know how to defend ourselves. Because you frighten us. Velk said simply. Can you not understand that? Before Minho could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. Jiwan's voice came over the intercom, tight with tension. Captain, to the bridge immediately. We have a situation. Minho ran, leaving the alien standing in confusion. When he reached the bridge, Jiwan pointed at the tactical display. Long-range sensors just picked this up. There's a massive fleet entering Council space from the outer rim. Over 200 ships. They're not responding to any hails, and they're heading straight for the nearest Council worlds. Whose ships? Minho asked. Unknown, sir. But they're armed heavily, and Captain... Jiwan looked at him with worried eyes. They just destroyed a Council defense station. Killed everyone aboard. The Council's little ships didn't even slow them down. Minho stared at the display, watching red symbols advance across the map toward dozens of inhabited worlds, billions of lives. The peaceful species who had forgotten how to fight were about to meet someone who had not forgotten at all. Get those Council representatives back to their ship, Minho ordered, and send a message to Earth. Tell them we've found intelligent life. Tell them that life is in danger, and tell them we might be the only thing standing between peace and annihilation. The galaxy was about to learn a hard lesson. Peace was not the natural state of the universe. Peace was something that had to be protected, and sometimes that protection required the very violence that peaceful people feared most. The Council chamber was chaos. Ambassador Suji stood in the center of the massive room, watching as hundreds of alien delegates argued and shouted in dozens of different languages. Some were demanding that humanity be expelled from the galaxy. Others were calling for immediate military action against the approaching threat. None of them could agree on anything. Suji was a tall woman in her 40s with short black hair and scars on her hands from her days as a soldier. She had fought in the Mars Rebellion 20 years ago, back when humans were still fighting each other. Now she was supposed to help aliens understand her people. It was not going well. Please, if I could just explain... She tried to say, but her voice was drowned out by the noise. A massive alien with 3 heads slammed its appendages on the table. The humans must disarm. Their ship is a threat to everything we have built. The humans are not the threat. Another delegate shouted back. The invaders are coming. We need help. Accepting help from warmongers makes us no better than them. Better to be alive than pure. Suji sighed. Beside her stood Dr. Yunji, a xenobiologist who had been thrilled to meet alien life right up until she realized how complicated it would be. Yunji was short and energetic, always curious about everything. She leaned close to Suji and whispered, "They're terrified, every single one of them. They've never had to face violence before. They don't know what to do." "I know," Suji said, "but we're running out of time. Those invaders are getting closer every hour." The council leader, a being called Premier Tarkis, finally called for silence. He was from a species that looked like walking crystals, refracting light in rainbow patterns. His voice echoed with authority. "Enough. We will hear from the human ambassador." "Speak, Suji of Earth. Explain why we should trust your kind." Suji stepped forward. She had prepared a speech, something diplomatic and careful. But looking at these frightened aliens, she decided to speak from the heart instead. "You don't have to trust us. You barely know us. But understand this, we didn't ask to be the way we are. Humans evolved on a harsh world where everything tried to kill us. Predators, diseases, natural disasters. Other humans. We learned to fight because if we didn't, we died. So you admit to being violent." Someone shouted. "Yes," Suji said simply. "We are violent. We are capable of terrible things. But we are also capable of incredible kindness. We can choose which side of ourselves to show. And right now, we choose to help you." "Why?" Tarkus asked. "What do you gain from this?" Suji smiled sadly. "Nothing. We gain nothing. We help because it's the right thing to do. Because we've seen what happens when good people do nothing, while evil people act. We've learned that lesson in blood and tears across 10,000 years of history. We don't want you to learn it the same way." The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then a small alien with purple fur stood up. "I am Counselor Maris. My homeworld is in the path of the invaders. My family is there. My children, if the humans can save them, then I don't care how violent they are. I vote to accept their help." "As do I," another voice called out. "And I." "No," Tarkus thundered. "We do not make decisions out of fear. The Council has maintained peace for 3,000 years. We will not abandon our principles now. The humans will disarm or they will leave our space. As for the invaders, we will negotiate with them. All conflicts can be resolved through dialogue." Suji wanted to scream. These people were fools. Noble fools, perhaps, but fools nonetheless. Instead, she bowed. "As you wish, Premier. But answer me one question. What will you do when these invaders refuse to negotiate? When they destroy your worlds and kill your people? What will your principles matter then?" Tarkus had no answer. Later, aboard the Indomitable, Captain Minho listened to Suji's report with a grim expression. They stood in his ready room, a small office off the main bridge. Through the window they could see council ships keeping their distance, watching the human battleship with fearful eyes. "They refused help," Minho said. "It wasn't a question. The leadership did. Many of the delegates wanted to accept. But Tarkus controls the vote." Suji poured herself a drink from Minho's personal supply. "What are you going to do?" Minho was quiet for a long time. Commander Jiwan stood nearby, her arms crossed, waiting for orders. Finally, Minho spoke. "We can't force them to accept help. That would make us invaders ourselves. But we also can't stand by and watch innocents die." "So we do nothing?" Jiwan asked. "I didn't say that." Minho pulled up a star chart on his desk display. Red markers showed the invaders' path. They were heading for a cluster of 5 inhabited worlds, home to billions of council citizens. "We position ourselves here, between the invaders and their targets. We don't ask for permission. We just do what's right." "That could make us enemies of the council," Suji warned. "Better than being friends who let good people die," Minho replied. Meanwhile, in another part of the ship, Dr. Yunji was conducting her own form of diplomacy. She had invited several young council aliens aboard for a cultural exchange. They sat in the mess hall watching human crew members eat, talk, and laugh. A Velkari youth named Kess watched in fascination. "You smile so much, even though you know war, even though you carry such terrible weapons. How can you be happy?" Ensign Hana, a young communications officer with a bright smile, laughed. "Because we choose to be. Yes, bad things happen. Yes, we've seen terrible things. But that makes the good moments even more precious. We fight so that we can have days like this. Peaceful days with friends. But you're warriors," another alien said. "Warriors should be grim and serious." "That's a stereotype," Yunji explained. She pulled up images on a tablet showing them Earth, cities, forests, oceans, families. "Yes, we know how to fight. But that's not all we are. We're also artists and musicians and parents and teachers. War is something we do when we must. Life is what we do the rest of the time. Kess looked at the images with all four eyes. Your world is beautiful. I had imagined it as dark and violent. It can be both, Hannah said. That's the point. Life is complicated. We're complicated. We're not monsters and we're not angels. We're just people trying to do our best. One of the aliens, a floating creature covered in soft tentacles, spoke quietly. I think I understand now. You frighten us because you remind us that the universe is not safe. We built our peace by forgetting about danger. You live your peace by remembering it. Exactly, Yonji said. And right now you need people who remember. The conversation was interrupted by alarms. Red lights flashed, and an announcement echoed through the ship. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. Unknown fleet approaching. The aliens looked terrified. Hannah stood up, her friendly demeanor shifting instantly to focused determination. I have to go, stay here. You'll be safe. As she ran toward her post, Kess called after her. Will you fight them? Hannah paused at the door. If we have to. But we'll try to talk first. We're not monsters, remember? Then she was gone. On the bridge, Captain Minho watched the tactical display. The invader fleet was larger than initial estimates suggested. Over 300 ships, all heavily armed. They moved with purpose and coordination. This was not a raiding party. This was an invasion force. Hail them, Minho ordered. Lieutenant Hyun tried every frequency, every protocol. No response. The invaders ignored all attempts at communication. They're targeting the Council defensive position, Ji-won reported. 6 Council ships are attempting to intercept. They're asking us for assistance. Minho gripped the arms of his command chair. The Council had ordered him to stand down. But those 6 ships were crewed by living beings who were about to die because they had forgotten how to fight. This is Captain Minho to all Council vessels. Fall back to our position. We'll cover you. Captain, we have no authority to engage, Yun said quietly. Then I'll take responsibility, Minho replied. Ji-won, ready all weapons. Fighter squadrons prepare to launch. Major Daeho, have your Marines ready in case of boarding actions. The invader fleet opened fire. The Council ships, with their ceremonial weapons and untrained crews, lasted less than a minute. Minho watched good people die because their civilization had forgotten that peace sometimes needed protection. They're targeting civilian evacuation ships now, Ji-won said, her voice tight with anger. Transports full of refugees, defenseless. Minho's decision was made. All power to engines. Get us between those transports and the enemy fleet. Send a message on all frequencies. Tell the invaders they have one chance to stand down. And if they don't? Ji-won asked. Then we remind the galaxy what happens when peace is threatened by those who would destroy it, Minho said. We do what we were built to do. We fight. The Indomitable moved forward, alone against an enemy fleet that outnumbered it dozens to one. Behind it, millions of Council civilians watched and wondered if these strange, violent humans from the Forbidden Sector would save them or doom them all. The answer was about to become very clear. The message from the invaders came through translated into perfect Council standard. The voice was cold, mechanical, and filled with contempt. We are the Croathi. 3,000 years ago, your ancestors drove us from this galaxy because we would not submit to your pathetic laws of peace. We retreated to the void between galaxies, and there we grew strong. Now we have returned to reclaim what is ours. Surrender or be destroyed. Captain Minho listened to the message on the bridge of the Indomitable. Around him, his crew worked in tense silence. The Croathi fleet hung in space ahead of them, 300 ships strong. Behind the human battleship, a convoy of Council civilian transports fled toward safety. Millions of lives depending on one ship. So they're exiles, Commander Ji-won said. The Council's dirty little secret. I'm guessing nobody told us about them. Lieutenant Hyun checked his historical database. The Council records mention something called the Purge Wars, but all details are classified. It looks like they erased the Croathi from history to build their peaceful civilization. Can't have peace if people remember what you did to achieve it, Minho muttered. How long until the civilian ships are out of range? 15 minutes, sir. Then we hold for 15 minutes. Minho opened a channel to the Croathi fleet. This is Captain Minho of the Terran Coalition Navy. The Council has done you wrong, and I understand your anger. But these civilians are innocent. Let them go and we can talk about justice. The Croathi response was immediate. Justice? You dare speak of justice, human? You are not even supposed to exist. The Council would not allow species like yours to survive. They fear strength. They fear warriors. They fear anyone who refuses to bow before their laws. You're right, Minho said, surprising everyone on his bridge. The Council is afraid of us. They want us to disarm and submit. But we refused. Not because we want war, but because we know that peace without strength is just waiting to be conquered. Maybe we're not so different, you and us. There was a pause. When the Croathi spoke again, their voice had changed slightly. Less cold, more curious. You resist the Council's control? Then why do you defend them? Because they have families, Minho said simply. They have children and homes and dreams. Yes, their leaders are fools. Yes, they treated you unjustly. But the people running away behind me didn't do that. They're just trying to survive, like you once tried to survive. Another pause, longer this time. Then the Croathi fleet opened fire. Evasive maneuvers, G1 shouted. The Indomitable rolled as energy beams tore through space where it had been seconds before. Return fire. All batteries. The human battleship's railgun spoke. Solid slugs of metal accelerated to a fraction of light speed crossed the distance in heartbeats. 3 Croathi ships exploded. Another 5 suffered critical damage, but the enemy fleet kept coming. Launch fighters, Minho ordered. Tell Captain Junho he's clear to engage. In the hangar bay, Junho climbed into his cockpit. He was 35, a veteran of a dozen battles with quick hands and quicker instincts. Around him, 40 other pilots did the same. They called themselves Talon Squadron, and they were the best humanity had. All wings report in, Junho said over the comm. Talon 2 ready. Talon 3 ready. One by one, his pilots confirmed. Behind them, mechanics in pressure suits gave final checks. The hangar doors opened to space, and Talon Squadron launched into hell. Junho's fighter was small and fast, equipped with missiles and plasma cannons. He led his wing straight at the Croathi line. Remember your training. Hit and run. Don't get caught in close. These guys have had 3,000 years to prepare for this fight. The battle became chaos. Croathi fighters met human fighters in a swirling dogfight. Junho twisted and dove, his hands moving across controls with practiced ease. A Croathi fighter exploded under his guns. Another fled, trailing fire. But for every enemy he destroyed, 2 more appeared. Talon 7 is hit, someone screamed over the comm. I'm going down. Eject 7? Eject. Can't. Controls are frozen. Tell my wife. The signal went dead. Junho felt rage burn in his chest, but he pushed it aside. Emotion was the enemy in combat. He had to stay cold, stay focused, stay alive. On the Indomitable, Medical Officer Hanul worked frantically in sickbay. The ship was taking heavy damage, and wounded crew members kept arriving. Burns, broken bones, decompression injuries. He moved between beds, treating what he could, comforting those he couldn't save. A young ensign, barely 20 years old, grabbed his arm. Doc, am I going to die? Hanul looked at the readings. The ensign's injuries were severe. Fatal, probably. But he forced a smile. Not if I have anything to say about it. You just rest now. Save your strength. The ensign relaxed, believing the lie. Sometimes kindness was more important than truth. In another part of the ship, Major Daeho and his Marines prepared for boarding actions. Daeho was built like a tank, all muscle and scars, with a face that rarely smiled. His Marines wore powered armor and carried weapons designed to kill at close range. Remember, Daeho told his troops, the Croathi are cyborgs. Part machine, part flesh. Aim for the organic parts, disable the machines, and watch each other's backs. An alarm blared. Boarding pods detected. They're attempting to breach the hull. Here we go, Daeho said. For Earth, for humanity. For everyone counting on us. Move out! The Croathi came through the hull in a shower of sparks. They were horrible things, twisted combinations of flesh and metal. Some had forearms. Others had weapons built into their bodies. They moved with mechanical precision and biological fury. Daeho's Marines met them in the corridors. The fighting was brutal and close. No room for fancy tactics, just raw combat. Man against machine. Human determination against Croathi rage. They're pushing us back, one Marine shouted. Then we push harder, Daeho roared. He grabbed a Croathi by the throat and slammed it into a wall. Sparks flew. Oil mixed with blood on the deck. The creature died, and Daeho moved to the next one. On the bridge, Captain Minho watched the tactical display with growing concern. The Indomitable was holding, but barely. They had destroyed over 40 enemy ships, but the Croathi kept coming. And more problematic, a second Croathi fleet was approaching from another direction. "Captain, the civilian transports are almost clear," Jiwan reported. "Another 3 minutes. Status of our ship? Shields at 40%. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 12. We've lost main power to 2 weapons batteries, and we're almost out of missiles." Minho did the math. They couldn't win this fight. Not alone. But they could buy time. "Send a priority message to Earth. Tell Admiral Youngsu we need the 5th Fleet here yesterday." "That's 3 weeks away, even at maximum speed," Hyun said quietly. "I know," Minho stood up. "But we hold until help arrives or until there's nothing left to hold with. Those civilians get away safe. That's not negotiable." Counselor Maris watched the battle from her ship, safely behind the human battleship. She was small, covered in purple fur with large eyes that now welled with tears. Her people had always been peaceful. She had never seen violence before today, never imagined such destruction was possible. And yet, watching the Indomitable stand alone against impossible odds, she felt something she had never felt before. Gratitude. These humans, these warriors that her people feared, were dying to save strangers. The ship shuddered with each impact, bleeding fire into space, and still it fought. "Why?" she whispered to herself. "Why would they sacrifice so much for us?" Her aide, a younger member of her species, answered quietly, "Because they understand something we forgot. Peace is not free. Someone has to pay for it." On the bridge, an alarm screamed. The second Croathi fleet was emerging from hyperspace. Over 200 more ships. Minho looked at the numbers and knew they were finished. Even the Indomitable couldn't fight against those odds. "Captain," Jiwan said softly, "we could run. The civilians are safe. We could retreat." "No," Minho said. "If we leave, those 2 fleets will combine and hunt down the transports. We stay, we fight, and we make every second count." The crew looked at their captain. They knew what he was saying. They were going to die here. But not one person protested. They had joined the Navy knowing this day might come. They were ready. "All hands, this is the captain," Minho announced over ship-wide communications. "I won't lie to you. The odds are bad. But we faced bad odds before. We're human. We don't quit. We don't surrender. And we don't let innocent people die while we can still fight. So let's show these Croathi what happens when they threaten the helpless. Let's show them what humanity means. Battle stations. Give them everything we have." The crew cheered. In sickbay, Hanel smiled through tears. In the hangars, Junho and his surviving pilots prepared for another sortie. In the corridors, Daeho and his Marines reloaded weapons with bloody hands. Throughout the ship, 8,000 humans prepared to die for people they barely knew. The second Croathi fleet moved into attack position. The first fleet regrouped. Over 500 enemy ships against 1 battered human battleship. And then the impossible happened. The sensors detected new signals. Hundreds of them. Coming from hyperspace. Not Croathi signals. Human signals. Admiral Youngsu's voice came through crystal clear. "This is the Terran 5th Fleet. Sorry we're late, Captain Minho. We got your message and came as fast as we could." Admiral Youngsu was 60 years old with silver hair and a voice like thunder. His flagship, the TCNS Thunderchild, was even larger than the Indomitable. He stood on his bridge watching the tactical display with cold eyes that had seen 40 years of military service. "Analysis," he ordered. His tactical officer responded immediately. 500 plus Croathi vessels. Mixed classes. They're organized into 2 main battle groups. The Indomitable is heavily damaged but still fighting. Council civilian fleet is retreating behind our position. We have numerical advantage now, sir. Youngsu smiled grimly. Then let's not waste it. All ships battle formation Delta. Cruisers form screening line. Battleships prepare full broadside. Launch all fighters. And someone get me Captain Minho. Minho's face appeared on the view screen. He looked exhausted with blood on his uniform and smoke drifting behind him. But his eyes were sharp. "Admiral, good to see you. Save the pleasantries, Captain. Your ship looks like hell. Can you still fight?" "We can fight," Minho confirmed. "We've still got guns in spite." "That's enough. Good, fall back to our line. We'll take it from here." "Negative, sir. We're staying put. These bastards tried to kill civilians under our protection. They're not getting a free pass just because reinforcements arrived." Youngsu laughed. "Stubborn as always. Fine, you hold center position. We'll hit them from the flanks. Let's show these Kroathi what a real fleet action looks like. The human fleet moved forward as one, 12 battleships, each one a city-sized weapons platform, 40 cruisers, fast and deadly, destroyers, frigates, support vessels, and over 300 fighters, including Junho's battered Talon squadron. The Kroathi responded by reforming their line. They had numbers before. Now they were outmatched. But they had spent 3,000 years preparing for this moment. They would not retreat easily. The two fleets met in a battle that would be recorded in history books for centuries. Aboard the Indomitable, Commander Jiwan coordinated with the rest of the fleet. Target their command ships. Take out their coordination and the rest will scatter. Missiles launched. Railguns fired. Energy beams crossed space at light speed. The Kroathi returned fire with everything they had. Ships exploded on both sides, blooming like terrible flowers in the darkness. Captain Junho led his fighters against the Kroathi bomber wings. His squadron was down to 20 pilots from the original 40. Every one of them was exhausted, running on adrenaline and determination. But they had a job to do. Talon 2, take your wing and hit those heavy cruisers. Talon 5, you're with me. We're going after their carrier. Sir, there's too many enemy fighters. We'll never make it through. Then we make a hole, Junho said. Follow my lead. And Minji, if I don't make it back, tell my family I love them. Lieutenant Minji, his wingman for 10 years, responded with a shaky voice. You're going to tell them yourself, sir. I'm not letting you die today. They dove into the enemy formation. Junho's hands flew across the controls, dodging and weaving through enemy fire. Explosions lit up space around them. A Kroathi fighter exploded under his guns. Then another. But more kept coming. I've got 3 on my tail. Someone screamed, I've got you, Talon 9, break left. Minji swept in, destroying one pursuer. The other 2 followed her instead, giving 9 time to escape. But that meant Minji was now being chased. Junho tried to help, but his own problems demanded attention. 4 enemy fighters surrounded him, boxing him in. His fighter took hits. Shields failed. Alarms screamed, this was it. This was how he died, but he'd take some of them with him. He targeted the nearest enemy and fired everything he had. Point-blank range. The Kroathi fighter exploded, taking Junho's fighter with it in a ball of fire. But at the last second, Junho's ejection pod fired, throwing him clear of the blast. Junho! Minji's voice over the comm. Hold on, I'm coming for you. But she never made it. 3 Kroathi fighters caught her from below. Junho watched helplessly from his drifting pod as his best friend, his wingman, his comrade for a decade, exploded in a flash of light. No, he whispered. No, no, no. The rescue shuttle found him an hour later. By then, the battle had moved away, leaving behind wreckage and corpses floating in the void. On the Indomitable, Medical Officer Hanul had given up trying to keep track of casualties. His sickbay was full. The corridors were full. Wounded lay everywhere, some critical, some less so. He moved from patient to patient, doing what he could, knowing it was never enough. Ensign Hana was brought in, unconscious, her station having exploded during the fight. Her face was burned. Her left arm was broken. But she was alive. Hanul worked on her with gentle hands, thinking about his daughter back on Earth who was the same age as Hana. Stay with me, kid, he muttered. You've got too much life ahead of you to die in this metal coffin. In the damaged corridors, Major Deho and his Marines had finally pushed back the Kroathi borders. The cost had been high. 23 Marines dead, twice that many wounded. The deck was slick with blood and oil. Deho sat against a wall, breathing hard. His armor was scored and dented. His rifle was empty. A young Marine, barely 18 years old, sat next to him, crying. First combat? Deho asked gently. The Marine nodded. I killed them. I killed so many. I can still see their faces. Good, Deho said. That means you're still human. The day you stop seeing their faces is the day you become a monster. What's your name, kid? Taehyung, sir. Well, Taehyung, you did good today. You kept your friends alive. You protected this ship. Be proud of that. The nightmares will come later. That's the price we pay for doing what's necessary. On the bridge, Captain Minho received reports from all departments. Engineering had managed to restore partial shields. Weapons were back online. Life support was stable. They were still in the fight. Captain Admiral Youngsu is requesting your presence on his flagship, Lieutenant Hyun reported. Tell him I'm busy, Minho said. Then he reconsidered. No, wait. Tell him I'll come over as soon as I can. Commander Jiwon, you have the bridge. Jiwon stood up. Sir, are you sure? You're wounded. You should rest. Minho looked down at his uniform. He hadn't even noticed the blood. When had that happened? I'll rest when this is over. You have command. An hour later, Minho stood in Youngsu's ready room. The Admiral poured 2 glasses of whiskey and handed one to Minho. You look like hell, Captain. Feel like it too, sir. Minho drank. The whiskey burned going down, but it was a good burn. Status? The Croathi are retreating. We broke their back. They lost over 200 ships. We lost 18 with twice that many damaged. But we won. Youngsu sat heavily in his chair. The question is, what do we do now? What do you mean? The Council is terrified of us now. We just demonstrated military power beyond their worst nightmares. Some of them think we're going to conquer them next. Others want us to leave immediately. A few are grateful, but they're in the minority. Minho was quiet for a moment. We saved them. Millions of lives. And they're afraid of us for it? Fear is like that, Youngsu said. It's not rational. They saw us as monsters before because we could be dangerous. Now they've seen us be dangerous, even if it was in their defense. That confirms their fears. So what do we do? Ambassador Suji is working on that. She's meeting with council leadership now. Youngsu poured more whiskey. But between you and me, Minho, I don't think things will ever be the same. We're not going away. The council is not going back to ignorant peace. Everything has changed. Minho thought about Junho's empty fighter bay, about the Marines who would never go home, about Hana lying unconscious in sickbay, about all the lives spent to save strangers who now feared the saviors. Was it worth it? He asked quietly. Youngsu met his eyes. You're asking the wrong question, Captain. We didn't do this because it was worth it. We did it because it was right. There's a difference. In the council chambers, Ambassador Suji faced the assembled delegates. Premier Tarkus stood at the center, his crystalline form reflecting the lights in angry patterns. You were ordered not to interfere, Tarkus said coldly. You violated our sovereignty. You brought war to our space. We saved your people, Suji replied. The Croathi brought war. We brought survival. And now we are expected to be grateful? To bow before your military might? No, Suji said firmly. We expect nothing. We don't want your gratitude. We don't want your submission. We want you to understand something that you've forgotten over 3,000 years of artificial peace. Evil exists. Violence exists. And sometimes the only way to stop evil is with controlled violence wielded by good people. Counselor Maris stood up. Her purple fur was matted with tears. Premier Tarkus, I understand your anger, but my homeworld still exists because of the humans. My children are alive because Captain Minho's crew died to save them. We owe them a debt we can never repay. We owe them nothing, Tarkus shouted. They bled for us, Maris interrupted. They died for us. And all you can do is insult them? I am ashamed of you, Premier. I am ashamed of us all. The chamber erupted in argument. Some agreed with Maris. Others sided with Tarkus. The galaxy was splitting into factions, and humanity stood at the center of it all. Suji let them argue. Then she spoke in a quiet voice that somehow cut through the noise. The Croathi are defeated but not destroyed. They will return someday. When they do, you have a choice. The Croathi were not finished. 3 weeks after their defeat, long-range sensors detected movement in deep space. They were regrouping, gathering what remained of their forces. Intelligence reports suggested they were planning one final assault. This time they would throw everything they had at the Council's homeworlds. Captain Minho stood in the shipyard watching engineers repair the Indomitable. The great battleship hung in space, scarred and broken but not destroyed. Workers in pressure suits crawled over the hull, welding new plates, replacing damaged systems. It would be weeks before the ship was battle-ready again. We won't be ready in time, Commander Jiwon said beside him. She looked tired. They all looked tired. The crew needed rest. But rest was a luxury they didn't have. Then we fight with what we have, Minho said. Half a ship is better than no ship. Dr. Yunji approached them, carrying a data pad. Her usual cheerful energy was gone, replaced by quiet determination. Captain, I've been analyzing the Croathi technology we salvaged. They're cyborgs, yes, but there's something else. They've modified themselves so much that they're barely organic anymore. They're dependent on a central command network. If we could disrupt that network, the entire fleet would be vulnerable, Jiwon finished. Can you find the command ship? I think so. The network requires massive computational power. Only their largest vessels could support it. If we can identify and destroy that ship, the rest will lose coordination. Minho nodded slowly. It's a suicide mission. Getting close to their command ship means flying through the entire fleet. I know, Yunji said, but it might be the only way. Meanwhile, aboard Admiral Youngsu's flagship, the human fleet was preparing its own plans. The Council had finally, reluctantly, agreed to coordinate with humanity. But their contribution was limited. Small ships with untrained crews. They wanted to help, but they didn't know how. Youngsu met with his captains in the war room. The holographic display showed the battle space, with enemy positions marked in red and friendly forces in blue. The odds were not good. The Croathi are coming with everything they have left, Youngsu said. Over 400 ships. We have our fleet, plus whatever the Council can muster. Maybe 100 combat-capable vessels total. We're outnumbered 4-1. We've faced worse odds, one captain said. Not like this. This time they know what they're up against. They won't underestimate us again. Youngsu pointed to the central red marker. This is their command ship. A dreadnought larger than any vessel we've ever encountered. Dr. Yunji believes if we destroy it, we can break their coordination. The problem is getting to it. A strike team, another captain suggested. Small, fast ships. Fighters, maybe. Get in close while the fleet keeps them busy. That's a one-way trip. Whoever goes won't be coming back. The room fell silent. These were veteran officers hardened by years of service. They understood sacrifice, but that didn't make it easier. I'll go, a voice said. Captain Junho stood at the back of the room. He had been recovered from his ejection pod, bruised and traumatized but alive. I lost my entire squadron. Let me finish what they started. Captain Junho, you're in no condition, Youngsu began. I'm in exactly the condition I need to be, sir. I know what needs to be done. I'm a pilot. It's what I do. Junho's eyes were haunted but determined. Besides, I owe Minji. She died covering my escape. I won't waste the life she gave me. Youngsu studied him for a long moment, then nodded. You'll need volunteers. This is a suicide run. I won't order anyone to go. You won't need to, sir. We're human. We volunteer for impossible things. It's kind of our specialty. In the council chambers, a different kind of battle was being fought. Premier Tarkus faced growing opposition from his own delegates. Councillor Maris led the resistance, demanding that the council commit fully to the defense. We cannot sit back and let others fight for us, Maris argued. I know we're afraid. I know we've never done this before. But we must try. The humans are dying to protect us. The least we can do is stand beside them. We have no warriors, Tarkus protested. No trained soldiers. Our people will die uselessly. Then we die trying, Maris said. That is better than dying cowering. A young counselor named Kess stood up. He was the same Velkari youth who had befriended Ensign Hana weeks ago. I volunteer. I don't know how to fight. But the humans can teach me. They've offered to train any of us who are willing. I'm willing. Others stood. Not many, but enough. Peaceful people choosing to become warriors because the moment demanded it. Tarkus looked at his people and finally understood. This was not about becoming violent. This was about taking responsibility for their own survival. For 3,000 years, they had relied on laws and diplomacy. Now they needed to rely on themselves. Very well, Tarkus said quietly. The council will fight. May our ancestors forgive us for what we must become. On the Indomitable, Major Deho trained the council volunteers. It was not going well. They were too gentle, too hesitant, too kind. Everything that made them good people made them terrible soldiers. You're all going to die, Deho said bluntly to the group of 20 aliens standing before him. You're not soldiers. You never will be. But maybe you can buy a few extra seconds for the people you love. That's something. Kess raised a tentacle. Major, why do humans fight so well? Is it genetic? No, Deho said. It's practice. We've been fighting for 10,000 years. You've been at peace for 3,000. You're not worse than us. You're just inexperienced. And unfortunately, war is not forgiving of inexperience. Then why train us at all? Another volunteer asked. Deho smiled grimly. Because hope is worth something. Because you volunteered when you didn't have to. Because courage deserves respect even if it's not enough to win. Now pick up your weapons. If you're going to die, you might as well die knowing which end of a gun to point at the enemy. The final battle began 3 days later. The Croathi fleet emerged from hyperspace in a massive formation, heading straight for the Council homeworlds. The combined Human Council fleet moved to intercept. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Minho watched the enemy approach. His ship was only at 70% capacity. Shields weak, weapons limited, but they would fight anyway. "All hands, this is the captain," Minho announced. "I won't give you a long speech. You know what's at stake. You know what we're fighting for. Just remember, we're human. We don't lose because the odds are bad. We lose only when we give up. And I don't know about you, but I'm not in a giving up mood today. Let's show these bastards what happens when they threaten people under our protection." The crew cheered. Wounded crew members left sickbay to return to their posts. Medical Officer Hanul didn't try to stop them. He understood. Some things were more important than health. Ensign Hana sat at her communication station, her left arm still in a cast. She shouldn't be there. But she had volunteered to stay. Someone had to coordinate communications during the battle, and she knew the systems better than anyone. The fleets met in a storm of fire. Ships exploded by the dozens. The Croathi pressed forward, targeting the human battleships. They had learned from their previous defeat. This time, they focused fire, trying to overwhelm shields through concentrated attacks. The Indomitable took hit after hit. Shields failed. Hull plates burned away. But Minho kept his ship in the fight, targeting enemy vessels with methodical precision. "Captain, the Croathi dreadnought is moving to the center of their formation," Jiwan reported. "It's protecting itself with escorts." "Then we go through the escorts," Minho said. "All ships form up on us. We're making a run at their command vessel." Admiral Youngsu's voice came through. "Captain Minho, that's suicide. Let Junho's strike team handle it. Junho can't get through alone. We'll be the distraction, the battering ram. We'll draw their attention and he can slip in during the chaos." "Minho, it's already done, sir. We're committed. Wish us luck." The Indomitable and 5 other human battleships broke formation, driving straight at the heart of the Croathi fleet. It was madness. It was heroism. It was both. Enemy fire tore into them. The battleship Defiant exploded. The cruiser Relentless lost power and drifted away, but the others kept going. Behind them, Captain Junho led his small strike team of 12 fighters through the chaos. The Croathi were focused on the battleships. They didn't notice the small ships weaving between the larger vessels. "Almost there," Junho muttered. "Come on, just a little more." A Croathi fighter spotted them. Then another. They began taking fire. 3 of Junho's team went down immediately. Then 2 more. "Keep going!" Unyo shouted. "Don't stop for anything!" The dreadnought loomed ahead, a massive construct of metal and malice. Its hangar bay was open, launching fighters. Junho aimed straight for it. If he could get inside, plant the explosive charges, maybe this would work. Maybe he would see his family again. But probably not. That was okay. Some things were worth dying for. On the Indomitable, alarms screamed. The ship was dying. Engineering was flooding with radiation. Life support was failing on multiple decks. They had minutes left at most. "Captain, we need to abandon ship," Jiwan said. "Not yet," Minho replied. "Junho needs more time." "We hold position." "Sir, we're going to die." "I know." Minho looked at his crew, his people, his family. "I'm sorry I brought you here.